Moving on to the next speaker, is Sai Krishna. His topic is open tools and data to study air pollution. Um, if I talk about him, he's a research associate at urbanemissions.info. He's a civic technologist and open data contributor. He has worked for the last 5 years on creating data solutions for inclusive urbanization, disaster management, and air pollution. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Sai Krishna.
Okay, let's revive our attention spans by taking a long breath. Also, because I will talk about air pollution now. So, what do you think is the air quality right now? The air which you are breathing. I can see one of you wearing a mask. You can throw numbers at me. What do you think is the AQI right now? Okay. This is good variance, right? So I think I was just checking, the nearest air quality monitor is showing 46 or something, which is fine. I think our standard is 50 is what, like anything under than, like less than 50 is healthy air for us as per our standards. So that's what we do. We try to plug information gaps in air pollution. Air monitor data is just one aspect of it. There is, in the air pollution science, there's a lot of information gap. And urbanemissions.info tries to plug in those gaps. And it's a very small team run by Dr. Sharad Buttikonda. He has been doing it for the last like close to 20 years now. Currently, we are just a team of 3 people, but we do take help from a lot of other people. Just to give a brief overview of what we generally do is, one, we try to plug in data gaps, like direct data gaps. These can be satellite, like information from satellite that tell something about air pollution. We do write about air monitors data. Again, there is a lot of science about air, like many cities have just 2 monitors, and statistically 2 monitors is not a representative sample of what is happening in the city. But your newspapers would report data of those 2 monitors as if it is the air quality of the entire city. If that monitor is near a road, no matter how clean your city is, your newspaper would still report that your city is having a very bad air. So we are trying to plug in those gaps of data by doing more research, and we also do capacity building. We conduct workshops for air quality practitioners, policy practitioners, scientists, engineers. And one of those aspects is we build a lot of calculators, which I will show in this talk today. But I'll just start with one, like my main motive of today's talk is, do we really lack information on air pollution and the consequences of it? Like, I don't think so. It is like when you watch a movie right now, every movie is trying to tell you that if you smoke, you are going to spoil your lungs, but you're not going to stop smoking because you watched the advertisement of that sort. Many of my friends actually go out watching that advertisement, getting irritated by that advertisement, and smoke up and like come back into the theater. So I don't know if something like, I don't want to, because after some time we become numb to these numbers. I don't want to educate anyone now that we actually have air pollution. It is lived reality, especially in the northern part of India, where AQI hits 300, 400. Like after some time, the monitors are not even reporting these numbers right now. So it is a lived reality, and there is no point in actually like telling more and more about like just reiterating the fact that we are breathing polluted air. Research after research says that our life expectancy would have been higher if we had cleaner air. And it's not just about life expectancy, our health would have been better in the years we live if we breathe cleaner air. Then, so I was at a open data session last year where this was the question asked. Because in the open data session, like generally, people were telling that we should open up data sets, and that is a lot of data sets. So if we have open data, more of open data, then we can have more. Then we can actually fight a lot of problems that we have. Air pollution is just one of it. And then one question from the audience was, we actually have data about air pollution. We have a lot of evidence about air pollution. Then why is nobody taking action about it? Then I connected back to my friends who watched this advertisement in theater. Why are they not taking action about it? Even after having a lot of information about what smoking a cigarette would cause. One, again, this comes from my, like, apart from research, I do some theater and I write stories. From that life, there's one insight I have is that people don't get inspired by numbers. People don't want to change because you just give them information. In psychology, there's a term called G.I. Joe fallacy, which means we generally believe that if you know something, you will start taking action about it. But it is not even half battle won. Just knowing something won't help anything. You have to emotionally get connected to that number, about that evidence. That's when you will start doing something about it. And if you don't want to believe me for that, there is a very famous psychologist who also said the same thing, that no one ever took a decision just because I show a number or I show some fact. At some level, I have to tell you a story about these numbers to influence, to make some decisions, to get some action done. And to do that, what urban emissions has been trying to do is, we are conducting workshops. This is just one workshop we conducted in Mumbai last year, where we are trying to help practitioners, pollution managers, anyone interested in air pollution and managing it, to tell stories, to not just actually show data or just say that your city is polluted and you have to do something, but with whatever data you have of your city, related to pollution, we want to help you build some stories with those data sets, so that you don't just complain, but also probably provide solutions that your government should do so and so to reduce air pollution by X percentage. So something of that sort. And also, idea was not to make it so sophisticated, because there are a lot of tools today to study air pollution, but I took nearly, I've been working on it for close to 2 years now. I think I barely scratched the surface. So we want to actually make them accessible to a lot of people. So in one of our workshops, we have a participant from Jharkhand. She's just 14 years old right now. And that was a big win when she was able to understand the tool, build a story. But she has some data. I mean, this data is available on internet. We don't want to create new data there. She has some information about her municipality, about state of air pollution in her municipality, and she just Googled these numbers. And using those numbers, she was trying to build a story of, my municipality should do so and like these things to be able to counter this air pollution, to be able to reduce air pollution. And we have diverse, in that workshop, we had people from Punjab who were working on reducing stubble burning in Punjab. We had people from Jharkhand, we had people from Mumbai. So these are different cities with different contexts of how air pollution in their cities. The reasons are different, right? In each city, why your air is bad has a different reason. So, but we are trying to educate about these tools that we have built over the years, and how you can build these stories, tell your governments, interact with your governments about reducing air pollution using these tools. So one such is, like, we are trying to build visuals, these are just data visualization stories. We are trying to build visuals to engage better. The repository is there, it's an open repository. We have been trying to build various kind of visuals to get various kinds of engagement from audience. Like this, the recent one is called Pollution Stripes. It's being in news recently. Even Guardian was reporting about it, but we did this long ago. But Guardian reported it just last month. And major thing I wanted to talk about is calculators. Is again the tools which we have been building. Mostly we have built them on Microsoft Excel initially, because there are solvers on Microsoft Excel if anyone is exposed to them, so where you can solve linear programming problems. and these are basically you have an objective function. For us, it is say I want to reduce air pollution in my city. I want to minimize air pollution in the city. But obviously, we have constraints. We are not operating in a like I can easily say that let's stop going by personal vehicles and air pollution would reduce. But obviously, that's a constraint. I can't impose that. So you have an objective function, and then you have you give a list of constraints to that based on your city, the context of your city, and then you solve for it. You solve for okay, what all I can do to achieve my objective function. So we have been using Microsoft Excel initially to build these solvers, but again over the last 1 year, I am trying to open source them. We're writing code. There are good packages on Python to do linear programming, but again, not everything requires linear programming as well. Few of them are simple calculators where you just understand the science of air pollution well, and then you can start calculating about what are your variables of interest and how to tune them, like which variable should you touch to get more impact on your like reducing your air pollution. And this, it's not something we are doing completely by ourselves. This like one of the calculators that we had built, Dr. Nipun Batra from IIT Gandhinagar, he built a web application on that. And this is a simple calculator useful for people who are working on emissions from power plants. Is again simple science, simple formulas, but just trying to like play with, like if anyone wants to play with like pollution from power plants, like understand how this pollution varies depending on your variables. This web application will try to solve for that, where these are the 7-8 variables generally affecting pollution from a power plant. So if I say increase or like reduce my ash content, then how much would my PM10 emissions be? How much would my PM 2.5 emissions would be? So for us, we like this is one tool where we are trying to again educate on how changing few variables within power plants would help you in understanding how pollution would change accordingly. And then another thing which I had built was, again, this is a Streamlit application that I had built. This involved some linear programming in the backend. One is a simple calculator. So how do we calculate PM 2.5 emissions generally? Is a weighted concentration where the weights are population in each zone. So say my zone, there are 5 zones in my city, and just assuming that is like just say this is Tokyo or something. There is 1.3 million per each zone, just taking equally populated zones. And then this is a simple calculator of, okay, how much would the concentration of pollution be if my total is somewhere around 62.2 micrograms per meter cube. Like that is the concentration of particulate matter I have in the air right now. But then I want to reduce it. And obviously, probably I have a constraint that I can't reduce equally in all zones. Probably one of the zones is an industrial area where my ability to reduce pollution would be less. So accordingly, I would play with these numbers and see in which zone if I reduce if I can actually reduce pollution in zone 2 by 73%, then what would my overall average be? This is a simple calculator, but then we try to build a linear programming solver based on it. Now here it is, say I am a city manager and I am trying to, so this data I would have as a city manager, this basic data I would have. It's not like I have to gain this data from somewhere. And I have a target that I want to reduce pollution in my city by 30%. And this is my city data. Okay, I have 10 zones. This is the population of each zone, and this is the concentration of pollution in each zone. And these are the constraints. Obviously, like, as I've said, I can't reduce pollution in zone 1 by more than 40%. Because if I have to really do that, then probably I have to close industries, which I don't want to do. So that is a constraint that I'm imposing, that okay, at best, like I can only reduce pollution by 40%. So by imposing such constraints, then I would try to, like, and I want to reduce overall pollution by 30%. then what all should I do? Then the actual percentage of reductions that I should do is, okay, I need not touch zone 1 because initially also the pollution is less in zone 1 and the population is also less. So I need not actually touch zone 1. Like my actual percentage reductions in zone 1 are 0. But if I actually focus only on these zones, zone 3, 4, 5, like instead of randomly fighting pollution in every zone, if I concentrate on few zones, then I'll get an estimate of, okay, I will then be able to reduce my pollution in my city by 30%. So again, this is just default data that we have taken, but based on your city, you can then figure out where you have to focus. So like if you have 10 zones in your city, where do you have to actually focus to get most results? And again, sometimes you can't solve with the given constraints. This is a, like, source apportionment is nothing but what are the sources of your pollution. Vehicles are one, your power plants are one major source. If it is somewhere near Delhi, Punjab during November's, then stubble burning would be another source. So there would be various sources for each city. Again, that's why it's contextualized to each city. But so I've taken one city by default, and as a city manager, I said that these are my constraints. I want to reduce pollution by 30%, and these are my constraints that I cannot reduce emissions from cooking by more than 50%, or by waste burning by more than 50%. But right now, I can't do that because the constraints are too high, and I will not be able to reduce my pollution by 30% with these constraints. So maybe then I will try to reduce my ambition for that matter. Okay, if not 30, let's say if I can do it for 22%, then yes, I can reduce pollution in my city by 22% with these constraints. And based on like these numbers you would get, like for each of those emission, like if I have to reduce emission in cooking by 1%, how much would it cost? We hard coded these numbers. Like for cooking, it's like you just replace your traditional stoves with say electric stoves. Like if that is the measure you want to take, then you can always assign a number to it. Like how much would it cost to replace one traditional stove with an electric stove? So you would put those numbers, and then you will get some number of, okay, how much total cost would it incur? And again, these are the stories that we want to tell to the government, instead of just telling that like pollution is high and you have to do something about it. Generally, whenever like one thing, like a personal opinion that I gathered after working on this is that generally municipalities do this work every time there is some public outrage on pollution. Generally they would come up with the municipalities would come and start a panel to study air pollution then, and after a few months of it, they would more or less come up with something similar, which I think it can be solved. Like this should be where the work has to start. When the public outrage can start from here. Like it's not just about my air is polluted and do something about it, but it's that we already have so many options to do now. Like what is stopping you from choosing one of these options? So I think better public dialogue begins from there, and yeah, that is what one of our intentions is, to make these tools more accessible. Again, we have so many tools on our website. I've just shown AQI simulator and power plants emissions calculator, but from transportation we have multiple tools. Just for someone who is interested in transportation and emissions from transportation sector, there are multiple tools for that on our website, and most of them are still on Excel, but we are trying to make them more accessible. We are trying to build web applications over them. This is a GitHub repository that I am working on for this. If students want to pick up a student project, I'll be here, please let me know. And if you want to build something based on, if you want to, these tools are open to download. You can download them and use it for yourself if you want. If you want to build any of these stories for your city governments, for your municipalities, then the tools are open and you can work with them. But if you're interested in making them more accessible, in making web applications out of them, it is a good exercise in linear programming and all. So yeah, please let me know if any such collaborations can be done. And on our website, we also have a lot of primers on air pollution. Again, just to get the science right, we are not trying to just do a data project with this. It's thoroughly backed on air pollution science and the chemistry of air. So, and we have written a lot of primers on these. We write a lot of research papers also, but the idea was to actually not to intellectualize stuff, but reach to people. So we wrote, there's a lot of doodles and all on our website, just trying to educate on the science of air pollution. So yeah, that's it. That's my talk. Questions?
Thank you for that. So could you talk about any instances where you have worked with any government authorities who have used this sort of models? Because I think most of them would want like data and the sources and other information to take decisions, but I don't think they have access to that. So any instances where you have?
One testimonial I know of is like there are people from Punjab who are trying to take it up, and they are working on stubble burning there. So they want to use these tools. So again, it's basically what we are trying to tell is a story of prioritization, right? Like instead of just saying that do something about stubble burning, then there are few tools on our website which are focused on stubble burning. So there are people who are using these tools now to prioritize. Okay, what has to be done? Everyone knows the problem of stubble burning, but what has to be done? Which geography has to be focused? How much would it cost? Because generally, dialogue is ending there. You want stubble burning to end. We start speaking about it, but you receive a response that it would cost so much, and we won't do it. Like something of that sort, right? So, but if you have information on no, not just information. If you have scenarios of what all you can do, what all options you have, and this is not very rocket science as well. We are just building small web calculators for this. So with them, if you are equipped with all these scenarios, then I think public dialogue would be better than what it is right now. And it's like just collaborative public solving of these problems. So yeah, there are a few examples right now, but we want more of.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So I was kind of hooked on that slide where you said that we are already having a lot of information with us, but where's the action? So I think we are sort of calling out for I think activism that people should come forth and do something about it. So I just want an example like where people might have successfully come out and did some kind of changes and what the exact steps looked like.
Okay, I'm not particularly talking about activism per se. Like, again, I feel, like, it's completely personal opinion, activism also can be more educated than what it is right now. Again, as I've said, public dialogue is just ending with complaint right now. I mean, I'm not saying we should not complain, but I think it would have been better if there's complaint plus, this is what you can do. These are all the options we have at hand. And do something about it. Like if that's where activism can go to, I think that would be a better place to be. So, and if you say examples, I read about local examples, but like if you're talking about environment, then there are few examples. Generally, we speak about like how Montreal Protocol is a very good example of how ozone layer got protected. So there are a few examples, but in my personal experience, obviously, I haven't come across any one thing yet.
Sure, I would like to talk about that personally later. Just one more question, like how do you categorize air pollution? Like I was seeing that you were categorizing pollution into vehicular emissions versus coal emissions and so on.
Okay.
So like how do you categorize like to me pollution is just a pollution, right? Like how
So it's
do you
basically
know?
source apportionment. So what is the source of your bad air, polluted air? So if it is coming from a vehicle, it is transport emissions. If it is coming from a traditional stove where you burn biomass, then that is from cooking. So we do so like I think municipalities conduct source apportionment studies in association with universities in and around the cities. and with that source apportionment, basically it would be a survey data also. Based on that, we have source apportionment data for a good number of cities in the country. At least major Delhi has one, etc. From these cities, you would get the information on what are the major sources of air pollution in that city. Because if you don't know them, you will not be able to fight against. You see, like if I say in Delhi, stubble burning is a source of pollution, but only in particular months. So it's not like the single big devil that, like, because that's how it gets portrayed, right? That entire Delhi's air pollution is because farmers in Punjab are burning stubble. But that happens in one particular month, and what is like we should try to quantify it as well. Like what is the percentage of Delhi's air pollution that is because farmers are burning stubble. Once you start quantifying them, then you have solutions about, okay, how much of my effort should go into that. Because most of Delhi's air pollution is internal. Even during the stubble burning period, most of the Delhi's air pollution from source apportionment studies says that the source is internal within Delhi, not external. So again, that's what I honestly feel that reporting is also not up to the mark when it comes to air pollution. So we are trying to, that way, like trying to change those things.